So today we need to talk very briefly about a few of the members of the Crimson Tide that have thus far declared for the draft, and this is going to be a list that continues growing, and I'll be making a much more in-depth video about it once a complete picture is had and we kind of have a clear understanding of who's staying, who's leaving. But in the meantime, before we hop into this, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. So hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes, N for no. Do you believe that this will be yet another example of Alabama reloading as opposed to rebuilding? Let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy the content, like and comment down below. Those interactions, though small, are really massive to content creators such as myself in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, I want to start with the newest addition to this list, or at least at the time of recording this video, the newest addition, and that is wide receiver Jameson Williams. Because Jameson Williams has been an absolute joy to watch for the Crimson Tide this year. He plays with an energy that is infectious, and he is a player that genuinely looks like he's having the time of his life when he's out on the football field. And because of that, to me, Jameson symbolizes two things. First and foremost, that as much and as serious as college football is, it's a game, and it's all about having fun. And Jameson kind of indicates to me what happens when you put in the work, when you're serious about your craft, how you get to have fun on the back end of that. So that's the first area he symbolizes. But the second, and he's surely not the only example of this, but what happens when the transfer portal works out best for everyone involved? Ohio State had a loaded wide receiver room, and Jameson Williams got lost into the fold. However, that did not mean that he was a talent that deserved to be lost, as we saw this year, being a Biletnikoff finalist on his way to over 1,500 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns in a single season with the Crimson Tide. But he symbolizes what the portal is meant for in best case scenario, a talented individual who may be buried on a chart, getting to use the portal to find an institution that suits them, and then they go out there and showcase what ability they have. And it was just awesome to see. I'm so thankful that the Crimson Tide got in Jameson Williams. It was so much fun watching him play. And like I said, the energy he played with was infectious. And because of that, I have no doubt he will continue that same infectious energy on Sundays and be an absolute mismatch on Sundays. Because Nick Saban and Bill O'Brien had Jameson Williams terrorizing defenses all year long. And I just can't wait to see it continue. It is so unfortunate that he had to miss the remainder of the Georgia game with an ACL injury, but good news for Tide fans and Jameson Williams fans alike, because I've had a lot of Ohio State fans stop by the channel and wish their good wishes, and that's awesome to see. It really is awesome to see. But the good news for college football fans is that Jameson's knee injury, apparently with a healthy surgery, is one that he should recover completely from, and they don't expect a single drop in speed from Jameson, and he's someone who could clock a sub 4.3. He's that fast. But he's not the only member of the Crimson Tide leaving. In fact, Neal, the left tackle, has also declared for the draft, a declaration that surprised absolutely nobody, as he's pretty much well destined to be a top 10 pick. I mean, it has been so awesome to watch him develop with the Crimson Tide, and it's going to be very interesting to see where Alabama looks at that tackle position next year. Thankfully, we've talked at length before about the recruiting class Alabama got in last year with J.C. Latham, with Brockermeyer, and then this year with Booker. There's a lot of talent at the offensive line position for Alabama. It just needs to develop, but I wish all the best to Neal and have no doubt he's going to be finding success really soon in the NFL. But outside of the offensive guys, let's talk some defensive guys, because Phidarian Mathis and Josh Jobe are also seemingly on their way to the NFL draft, and if I had to bet money, Chris Allen is on his way as well. And maybe I missed the Chris Allen announcement because I haven't seen it expressly stated that he's going to the draft. However, I did see where he's hiring an agent, and that pretty much well means that on to the draft he goes, and deservedly so. Chris Allen was an individual who all Alabama fans were really excited to see what he and Will Anderson would do this year. And the unfortunate thing about Chris Allen, much the same as Jameson Williams, is an injury stopped that from happening. In Chris Allen's case, it was the first game of the season. Now, Luckily for Chris Allen, he got to put together a really positive year last year in the film department, and especially when you look down the stretch. He kept getting better and better and better as the year progressed, and the little bit we did see him play against Miami, he was starting off this year on a bang as well. So I have every reason to believe that there is going to be suitors for Chris Allen. Phidarian Mathis from the inside is a name that I know is going to garner a lot of attention and may go under the radar. Look, this is something that I think is incredible. As Alabama fans, we talk about Will Anderson all the time, and deservedly so. Over 17 sacks as a sophomore is unreal. But what we also need to realize is Mathis produced 9 sacks from the interior. That is awesome production, and the type of production that all NFL fronts are looking to add in. If you can affect the quarterback from the edges, that's great, but that's expected. If you can get pressure from the interior, well, that's where you can be a scheme breaker. And Phidarian Mathis is a name we have to keep up with and see what ends up happening going forward, because I think the sky is the limit. Lastly, the name we know is Josh Jobe, the cornerback who had a really solid year up until his injury. And Josh Jobe certainly has the physicality to play on the next level. The interesting thing about the cornerback situation is whenever Jobe went down with injury, it then became Kool-Aid McKinstry and Jalen Armour-Davis's job. Ultimately, we know the story and how it was written. Kool-Aid McKinstry continued to develop, and he looks to be the next dude under Nick Saban. I mean, McKinstry is going to be a great cornerback, and he showed flashes of it this year. I can't wait to see what he does next year. Jalen Armour-Davis played well, but upon his injury, in came Kyrie Jackson, an individual with a very high ceiling. He just didn't have the experience in an Alabama uniform when the lights were the brightest. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he is a very talented individual and one with a very high ceiling. But ultimately, I think that the move that garners the most attention in the secondary is Eli Ricks transferring from LSU to Alabama, former 5-star guy who played like a 5-star in college and did so pretty much instantaneously. It's hard to imagine right now that Kool-Aid McKinstry and Eli Ricks aren't your top 2 corners next year. And, obviously competitions have to be won. Nothing is given. This is college football and this is Alabama, so nothing is given. But that's what it would seem like it would be right now. So as it currently stands, I fully expect more members of the Crimson Tide to enter their names into the NFL draft. And as always, we wish nothing but the best for those that have played in college football when they go on to the NFL. No matter what team they played for, it's awesome to see these guys achieve their dreams. So with that, very proud of all of these guys and very thankful that I got the opportunity to watch them play. But hop down in the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.